No, we never sit still. It's time to stand up, time to take the red pill. To make this our world, gonna die on this hill. Be ready to fight and be ready to kill. We never give up, no, we never sit still. It's time to stand up, time to take the red pill. To make this our world, gonna die on this hill. Be ready to fight and be ready to kill. You can still go, even when you feel slow, you can still go, even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. When you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday night. We are here for our post-auction, our first-year player draft, our FAAB podcast recap, I guess, if that's what we're going to call it. Cal is here with me, as always. How you doing, my man?
I gotta say, like, the only reason I haven't jumped off a bridge right now is because I did this podcast after getting the birdsong news. So I'm not doing that great, not as great as I wanted to, especially given that I did hit my hot take. But nothing really matters as much as birdsong not getting that job. I think I care more about it than birdsong's mom.
Dude,
but yeah, it just sucks.
It's kind of crazy because I have Kyle Harrison in ACL.
Oh.
And he got demoted
which is just like that came out of nowhere.
So it's like he's gone, and now Birdsong is as well. Like I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, of course, come on. Jordan Hicks has to be a starter. Duh.
Yeah, true.
You have to do that. Anyways, I'm a little cranky about it. I'm not as happy as I could be, but I'm happy I'm here.
Got the fifth job, I guess.
Sucks.
Go for it. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Again, welcome everyone. Appreciate you guys being here. A couple of shout outs actually to start off the pod here. I wanted to start off first by shouting out both Dylan and Steve, just for the amount of work that they have put into the website, or I don't know if you want to call it a website or app or whatever, that Dylan put together. We'll use that a little bit later, talk about that a little bit. So shout out to him there, and then obviously Steve with all the work he does with his handbook, just makes me feel so inferior and not intelligent in any way, shape, or form. So awesome job to both those guys. And then I actually have a third shout out as well. I got a DM from an unnamed source.
You're getting a lot of those recently.
Yeah, true. Not from any a source still in ABL, who messaged me saying that I needed to give a shout out to a specific person who apparently, and I'm reading this right off of the Discord message. He was the 29th champion of a league that is entering its 30th season this year.
My God.
And apparently that is you, Cal.
Yes.
This is a 30-year league that you and your dad have been in called the Sandlot. He said it's not an easy task to win this league, and so he wanted me to embarrass you live on air. So there you are, sir.
Very embarrassed. He literally he told me, he's like, dude, you got to put. He made this cool trophy, and he's like, dude, you have to do it. And I was like, I'm not gonna do it, man. It's different league. I'm not gonna do that. It's kind of weird for me to do that. He's like, dude, come on, please, you got to do it. I'm like, all right, fine, because you're gonna bug me about it if I don't. So yes, fine, I will do it. I am embarrassed, but it is freaking cool. Like, it's the league. Yeah. It's what got me into fantasy baseball. Yep. Period. I mean, as a little kid, watching my dad on RotoWire, just like setting his lamps on this archaic site. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's overall pretty cool. I don't want to go too much into it, but yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think he just wanted the shout out, wanted to make sure you got your props for winning that league. So
yeah,
super cool stuff. Getting into tonight, we're essentially going to be talking about auction stuff first. I know that feels like, honestly, it feels like a year ago since we were in that. So we'll kind of go through that a little bit. We'll talk about the first year player draft, kind of go through that, talk about some steals that we maybe had throughout. And then we'll obviously talk about FAAB-A-Palooza as well, very briefly at the end, just kind of maybe point out some names before that. However, everyone knows that there's also another thing that maybe should be addressed in some capacity that we normally would talk about, since we are, I guess, the voices of the league. We'll, I guess, put our statement out there if we want to. I won't force you to say anything, Cal, but we'll say that, obviously Seth leaving the league is, I think, a negative in a sense. You never want to see anyone leave the league. However, given how it happened, I don't think anyone was necessarily surprised that it happened as well. Certainly not the type of dialogue I think that we want in the ABL. And I think it was actually kind of funny. Duke made a comment that, this is supposed to be fun. Like, it's not supposed to be this stressful, crazy thing. We obviously take this super seriously. That's why we have a fucking podcast and a handbook and an app for the league. But we also want to have fun, right, at the end of the day. And I think we both agree on that. I think most people in the league agree on that as well. But that's kind of my take. All I really have to say on it. I don't have much to add. How about you?
Yeah, it sucks. It's definitely not something I don't think no one wanted to happen. It's just kind of how it oddly unfolded. It just came out of nowhere, I think, for a lot of us. Like, I was always pretty cordial with Seth. There was never really much anything there. It was very surprising. Him of all people. Yeah. I bet if you just put it out to people who was not with there for the past couple of months, it would have surprised a lot. So it did suck the way it went down, but a hot take's a hot take.
I gotta congratulate you on absolutely protecting the future. It is. I would have lost so many things betting on you not hitting that hot take. It is
Me as well.
incredible, and it honestly makes me scared for the future, because if that is gonna hit, boy, anything can hit at this rate.
Yeah, it should definitely scare people. But I'll be honest, it was just like a joke because of how ACL was going. It was it got a little contentious at times, and it was kind of like, screw it.
Why not?
Tensions are a little bit high. Get rolling over from ACL. Did not realize how high. Did not at all realize how. And it was even before Seth stuff was going.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like in a league like this too, right? Like where most of us who have, especially those of us who have been there since been here since the beginning, like pretty close knit group. Like stuff's been said. Like we've bitched at each other and stuff. But at the end of the day, we're all here to have fun, right? And playing an awesome league. So yeah, very very surprising. Obviously at the end of the day, but is what it is.
Too many auctions. Just keep it at one a year. I think that may have been a problem. Having a startup auction with all of us in it was already contentious enough, because I did another slow auction after that with a different group of people.
Okay.
Not related to ABL at all. People I've known for years.
Yep.
And I hated them so much. Like I liked them as people, but I legit hated them and who they
as
are
fantasy owners
in the auction. Yes, absolutely. It just like every little thing came out during the auction. It's just not good for the human brain, the auction. Absolutely not.
I love it. Well, we want to obviously congratulate you on that hot take, even though it wasn't exactly what we wanted to happen. So I guess it's kind of weird, but is what it is, I guess. All right, let's move on to the auction then. As we have talked about before, really every year, the auction is a monster and a beast in and of itself. Things seem to be different every year as far as like players go, and yet at the same time the same story inevitably seems to play out. So we're kind of going to cover that. We're going to go through each position. Cal actually made this awesome document that I am going to pull up here, hopefully. Oh, now it's not letting me scroll. So that's great. Oh, is that? No, that's not it. Why isn't it letting me scroll? All right, we'll try to refresh it here, see if that helps.
But if we're gonna start, we're starting off with the overall.
Yeah, I guess go. Why don't you do that while I try to figure out why I can't scroll on this?
Okay, so it was a weird one, especially with me like leaving it with too much money. I think I had like $20-some. That was pretty embarrassing. I did not expect that. But mainly, it's like at a certain point it fell off a cliff as far as prices were concerned, because I would save my money for this like late starting pitcher run that never really came as far as dollar wise.
Yeah.
Kind of just walked into $5 Kyle Freeland, even though he sucks. Like I thought it was going to be $20 the way it was going. I mean, there was a point where I think Adam had money on every single OK starter on the board. Like it was like $17 a piece. I'm like, dude, I don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't handle this right now.
Yep.
And so I was like, all right, save your money. And it just never came. So I was it was a weird one how it unfolded, I think.
Yeah, and I think if you wouldn't mind going into the Google Sheet right now and trying to give me access, I think that might be why I can't scroll. Okay. I'm not sure why, but we'll see if that helps. But anyway, you're good, no worries. For me, the biggest thing, and I know I talked to a few people about this, is now that we're 5 years in, we are really hitting a point where, especially teams like the Pirates and Cardinals and Tigers, all these kind of teams that have already been good year after year, but now have these really good farm systems. And you even look at some of the teams that have been lower, like the Nationals, for example. They're looked at as one of the better teams now, potentially, because all their young guys are coming up. They have money to spend on the positions they need to fill. And so I think looking at how important the farm system is in this league from that perspective, and how it's now literally having such a drastic impact that almost every starting pitcher that goes in the draft is double digits. Even on the last day, literally the last day, Cal Quantrill, really for freaking $10 I had to pay for him, just to get him. So I think that's pretty crazy, but it's having a huge impact because those are the guys that people have to spend money on. So very, very interesting to see. So now, were you able to give me access?
Yes. You should be good to go. I think it was because you were trying to be an editor and I had it as viewer. So yeah, we're good.
It's still not letting me scroll. That's really weird.
This is that's why, because it's only sorted by, I have it by catcher. It's by position right now. That's
Ah,
what it is.
God, I'm like,
I already did it
what's
for
going
you.
on? Beautiful.
Okay.
You know, see, like I said earlier, the brain's just not there sometimes.
All good.
All right, so catcher, here we go. The kind of first one that we talked about, and I'll let you kind of start because I know these are some of your takes here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd even said that catcher was kind of one of the less sexy positions, just by and large.
Yep.
There was really no names here. Even with the no names, still overall pretty cheap. Like getting a multi-positional Wong for $12 is not bad, especially with the playing time he's slated to get.
Totally.
Whether or not he does, I don't know. But and then I mean, you go down. I see that the Tigers got 2 catchers, which is pretty interesting with Kirk and Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall when the Murphy injury happened, but I think he was already injured during the time of the auction. So
I think so.
Could have played into his $10 price along with John then shifting to go get Kirk. So just at least seeing the same team twice in that top part was interesting. But I think probably one of the better values would be Jeff's Corey Lee off of FAAB. I would rather take Corey Lee off of FAAB than messing around with these other guys in the auction, because really your ceiling here is very low in the auction for catcher. I think it's one of the ugliest years we've had yet.
Yeah, 100%.
And it shows in the prices.
Yeah, it feels like in the past we've had like maybe I don't know, like
one of the Contreras.
Romuto or Contreras, or someone has been in there, right? I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here too, just so you can see it better,
Sure.
hopefully on the stream. But yeah, it felt very weird as someone who needed a catcher, and ended up getting both the Texas catchers. It felt very weird to like not have what felt like a name to go after. Even Wong at 12, like looking back at that, I'm kind of like, man, I almost would have been okay taking a couple dollars off of Quantrill and throwing it onto Wong, so I could have won him, just with the multi-eligibility and everything. But very, very, very interesting there. First base. Let's move to that, and now you got it. Perfect. All right. So first base. And obviously, as we look through these positions too, it's nice to be able to see the extra eligibility. Thank you, Cal, for obviously putting all that up there. For me, a lot of, and I think I mentioned this in our pre-auction pod, but I said here, there are a lot of names at the first base position, but not necessarily anything crazy that felt like people were going to pay a ton for. 36 for Olsen. Okay. I mean, Naylor's obviously still younger, 33 for him. Honestly, Goldie going for 23 is a little surprising. Yeah. Just given his age, but playing for New York helps, so who knows there. But yeah, even I thought it was crazy. Like Jake Berger going for 22. Like, I think, thinking back a couple of years ago, he was like $7 and people were trying to sell him at the trade deadline as like a breakout type guy. Crazy to see that too.
Only a few of these guys are getting 30 homers anyways. Berger had like 29, I think, last year. So even that might even be a good deal. I'd feel like Berger might be able to outproduce Goldie.
Potentially,
Which, then again, maybe not with playing in New York all the time. But one of the better values, it's very much biased, but Burleson for 19 with 3 positions was, I think, especially with playing time, where he's going to be slotted out in the lineup, I think probably better ceiling than like a Nate Lowe or a Candelario. Especially with the multi-eligibility. So I thought that was another good deal. It was also interesting with Lowe being on Washington, Bell being on Washington too, each of them going double digits. Obviously I know Bell I think is probably DHing, I feel like over Lowe. Maybe they'll switch it out a little bit, but it's just kind of interesting to see that as well from an eligibility perspective. Second base, why don't you take it? I'm doing a rapid second base search real quick.
Go for it.
Select all, filter, clear. It didn't take. This is what happens when we're doing live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
That's okay. It happens.
Sort by this. Okay, well, Mookie's there. First base.
Good. I was just saying, you go ahead and talk about it.
All right, we're close. Well, really, it's Mookie. That's pretty much the position of second base these days. It's just Mookie, and you're just kind of in an elbow match for everyone else. But you see here, kind of top heavy with the old guys, which we mentioned that anyways, that there was going to be a heavy veteran presence at the top. There's not a lot of high upside guys. You kind of know what you're going to get, which is kind of nice if you need a second baseman.
Yeah.
And you got the money, you at least know what you're getting. It's not really much of a buyer's remorse responsibility here, but I think the prices were reasonable too. 27 for Altuve's consistent production for his entire career.
Yep.
I'd be pretty happy with that. Shout out Adam. Adam, I said something nice about you. I'll take it all back. I'm crapping our team all the time. It's not true. Some of the time, yes. But so yeah, I think overall I don't think these prices were really that unreasonable at any point. And really throughout the auction, I didn't think they were that crazy. It just seemed highly based on timing, like all auctions really are anyway. But that craziness of ABL auctions where it's like, God, what are we doing here? Didn't really ever click, I don't think.
Yeah, well, and I mean this too from a like position perspective, like eligibility. Yeah. Also, I feel like
scarce position as well.
Well, it plays a role in that, like, with Mauricio Dubon being like the 10th most, I mean, going for $9. Even like I took Austin Martin for $9, like someone who's literally starting in AAA. And then you look at John Birdie, who is a FAAB guy, right?
Yeah.
It's super interesting to me to see like all the multi-eligible position type players, or a lot of them, right? Have second base, which I feel like plays into it as well. You look at they're not unreasonable simply because they have multiple positions they can play at. So it's ultimately worth it to spend on it. So
yeah, I think we even brought that up too, that there was going to be a heavy amount of players in this kind of middling tier below $10, just because that they're like barely serviceable utility guys that are valuable because of their multi-positional. So to see that actually play out after talking about it was pretty cool. And then I guess we'll move over to shortstops. It's actually have it preloaded because I'm actually back on track here finally.
Sounds good.
Again, Mooks again at the very, very tippy top.
Yeah, which again is going to be the case, especially once we get to outfield.
Yes.
You're going to see a similar name there too.
There are some of these that could see room for growth. Like, I don't know what Abrams has to do to go up that extra $2. I don't think it's going to be that high of a threshold to clear. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the off the field stuff is going to really factor in at all this year. That was kind of a weird storyline.
Yeah,
that just was never really resolved with the front office. So I assume he'll still be like I don't know, 20-60 threat, which I think for $27 is not bad at all.
No.
And then Bogey, I think we talked about already for second base. Not a whole lot of upside there, but if Bo Bichette can rebound, that'd be a pretty great buy.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anything to show he will rebound, but if you get like the old Bo Bichette where he were to spend like $40+ for him, that's pretty good. That's pretty good value.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's interesting again to look at all the money that was spent later on in the auction, more specifically on starting pitchers, right? Could that have been used on one of these guys, for example, to win them for another $1 or $2? But again, it kind of goes to the point of like, do teams need another shortstop, right? I know in just talking with Steve a little bit, and I think he put Swanson up on the block, if I saw it correctly. Swanson's sitting in his utility spot right now. It's a pretty good player to be sitting in your utility spot, right? So you wonder if another team could potentially use that instead to get a starter in there. But
absolutely.
Interesting stuff. Third base, perfect. Go ahead.
Third base, I'd put in the notes here, but third base is a lot like first base, where just kind of like it grabs the tapers off. You have your veterans at the top that are, of course, going to fetch your highest prices. Maybe a couple younger guys that can actually, reach a higher ceiling and maybe be keepable, in the long run. I don't know if Bohm can end up being a keepable guy. I'd imagine he could be at his price, but also a lot of first base, third base eligibility, anyways. So I found that to be kind of interesting in the top part with that Bohm, Berger, and Candelario combo.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of those positions where, again, we already talked about most of these guys, the multi-eligible guys at first base, and then all the other top ones, right, all the way down through Arenado, are just third base eligible. So people that are paying for most of these guys are slotting them there, right, for the most part. Moving once you get under Arenado, you don't have much of anything in terms of like true starter potential type guys. But you have a ton of guys who have multi-eligible positions. So that's a big piece.
Do we want to do outfield as a whole thing?
Sure, go for it.
Because it seems like it's all the same.
It is.
It's all the same people that really don't matter and do matter.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and we'll do I want to just do contains and let me do contains. You know, screw you. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do each one because I don't know how to do sorting by filters.
Sounds good.
This is what happens when it's live. Okay, here's what we got. Again, it's just Judge and Soto pretty much. That's the entire list. There's really nothing else to look at here. It's all pretty ugly. There's Christian Yelich though, which I said it before. Duke's the biggest loser of the auction by far. I mean, he went in the auction with the most money that you could. He didn't get Judge. And he even said he'd said well, I mean, I didn't even want Judge. It's just I didn't even want him. Come on, get out of here. That's crazy. That is crazy talk. Don't even start with that. Whatever, man. But Seth just pulling a fast one on us.
Yeah,
just the last team on the planet I could have expected to jump out with that $61.
Yeah,
kind of near the end a little bit, but it was just this Judge and Soto show, and then of course Yelich, which Yelich's back is doing a lot of heavy lifting for my hopes. It would be so cool to see Yelich return to form, just because he found a chiropractor or whatever. Pretty neat. I would love that. But overall, I think it's a pretty reasonable list. Griffin Conine though, that's a hefty price. Listen, he'll probably play all year.
Probably.
You would think maybe it's the Marlins. That's my only reasoning for that.
Yeah,
is that it's the Marlins.
Yeah.
But to get a kind of a double threat there, left field, right field, we got to actually play off FAAB. I guess not that surprising for 16, but looking at the other players going for that price, it's a little steep.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think people are just looking to overspend with FAAB, right, to secure certain spots, certain guys. Looking at my roster, I have 5 or 6 guys going on the IL, plus another 2 that got sent down to the minors. So I got 8 guys potentially that I'm picking up from FAAB still. So even though it's probably higher than what he should be at, I would certainly take him over what's left right now.
I'm not one to judge about picking up shitty outfielders with FAAB. So it's not too much on it. So absolutely not. So we're gonna move on to center field here, and we're going to select them all because that's what we do when we fill the filters.
Love it.
And we're going to sort by ZDA. Boom. Okay. Again, it's just Judge, and then what a drop off!
It's literally just Judge.
Massive drop off.
Yep.
Even the middle tier, then another drop off to Austin Martin.
Yep.
There's nothing here. I didn't realize how horrible it was.
Yeah, really
it sucks. And it's really just all multi-positional guys.
That's what I was gonna say is the crazy part about this is, and you might as well just filter by right field right now because it's literally the exact same thing. But
I'll do that.
We're basically talking about just the outfield position because of the new eligibility, right? I mean, there's some obviously out here you got Tatis, Acuna, Suzuki, right? All bigger names. But it's just crazy because it's essentially the same players at the position minus a couple of names. And so really if you're going for an outfielder, you essentially are fighting potentially more teams because, whether a team's looking for a left fielder, a center fielder, or a right fielder, there's a better chance that they're going to be trying to fight you for those better guys because they have both of those positions or all of them, right?
Yeah, the new eligibility rule makes outfield just crazy. You can get eligibility by being over to the left a little bit too much. So I don't. It's nice. It really is nice to just kind of move everyone around, but it creates a whole different economy as to what matters because it makes me not want a guy who's just right field.
Yeah.
Unless it's we're looking at here, Tatis and Acuna. No, duh, I want those guys.
Yeah.
But if I'm having to judge off of a Max Kepler, I don't know if I want to spend that for Kepler. If I can get someone somewhat comparable who can play all 3 or even just 2.
Well, you have a better shot, it feels like, from a consistency perspective on a week-to-week basis to get points just in general by having just having depth, right? The more depth you have, the better chance it is that you're going to get points, right? So having 3 outfielders that can play, or 4 or 5 outfielders that can play all 3 positions, you're going to be in a better spot. That just is what it is. So
absolutely.
I definitely feel that way too.
Yeah, we're shifting to hell. Give me 1 second here. Sorting pitchers.
Yeah, this I called it a gong show. It's and again, I feel like we say this every year, and every year it just feels worse than the year before.
It's definitely worse. Look at there's no tapering. Every position has had tapering. It's all bad.
And for what it's worth, these are good names, right? All of these guys are good starting pitchers. So like I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily mad about that, but as we go down, like I had to pay 22 for Cortez.
Tough.
I mean 21 for Severino. I mean Singer for 20, Halk for 20, Soriano for 19. I mean it's insane.
Feels like that's a huge risky play.
Yeah,
based on
right.
like, the limited sample that you have. At least like a Schmidt or a Hawk.
Yeah,
At least you have some reference point for them as a starter.
something.
Whereas Soriano, they're just like, all right, we're the Angels. Screw it. Let's see what happens.
Like
We can't develop pitchers anyways.
38-year-old
Stick our relievers and do it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like I mean 38-year-old Yu Darvish for $16. Like
Ooh, that's a
he
bummer.
barely even
That
pitched
was
last
timing
year.
there.
$16 fucking Dean Kramer I had to pay for. Like I didn't want to, I didn't want to pay for any of these guys, but I ended up having to, and I'm sure everyone else felt the same way, right? It was just a bunch of flip flop.
Even the FAAB spent on Carrasco was kind of hefty.
Yeah.
Just because the Yankees seem like they would just chop him the second he gets a little bit
Yeah,
back.
they don't care.
They don't have much of an option right now at the second after Cole going down. I mean, they added Will Warren to rotation, but Stroman's their number 5 guy. That rotation, it's a mess over there in New York. I don't know what's going on. So maybe that's what you're hoping for, is that the whole thing's just a mess in any ways. The Yankees aren't going anywhere. But you have to think, if you're the Yankees and you got a lot riding on you guys getting the playoffs again after Soto leaves, that rotation is just going to have a massive overhaul. So it's a fair bit of FAAB to be left without this early in the season.
Yeah, actual results, right? Like immediate results from that. Adam threw the question out, will more starting pitchers get kept as a result of this year's auction?
I think it's definitely going to be like, if you're on the fence about a guy, probably keep him. Like it was so bad that there was a small little demon ghost inside of me that was thinking about keeping Michaelis for 18. I thank God I didn't do it, but it was just like thinking about this board right here. That it was in my nightmares when I went to bed. I was like, I really don't feel like doing this, but also I don't want to live in a world where Miles Michaelis is on my team either.
Yeah.
So I kind of pick and choose your battles there.
Yeah, well, and I would argue too, like, more. My answer to the question would be, I think more pitchers will be kept if there are more pitchers in keepable price ranges. Yeah. I look at a lot of these pitchers, and maybe these high end guys, if they pitch well, like they'll be kept at these prices, right? Because they're going to go for the same price next year anyway, so you might as well keep them. But man, I look at, starting. I guess Pivetta could probably, reach that level. Lugo probably could, but like, am I keeping Nestor Cortez for $24 next year? Christ,
well, you hope so,
that's what I was gonna say. I hope so, but I think that the chances are, if maybe you want to make Cortez the line, everyone below that, those guys would have to have pretty good years, it feels like, right, in order to be kept at
years for all of them.
And really, it's not even necessarily that teams would want to. It's can they afford to keep a pitcher at an overcosted price, because everyone else on their team too is going up a couple of bucks, right? The caveat I made before about prospects being called up, right? That's great for a year or two until they've also inflated, right? And they're growing, and you potentially have other guys who maybe you haven't been able to keep, and now all of a sudden you're in a position like me where I frickin' went in with I like 16 positions to fill or something like that. And, it makes the auction impossible. So I think you're going to look at a lot of middle of the road guys being kept, and then anyone who can actually perform to their contract, obviously, even if it's, kind of at the max level, teams will be willing to give out 1-year contracts just to kind of help them get through a year, right? Of trying to find more prospects that can get called up, etc.
That's exactly the predicament I'm in now.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game that everyone is trying to play.
Yeah.
How many prospects
I signed, I think, everyone but a couple of guys. Maybe just one guy.
Yeah.
A 1-year contract, because I did not feel good about any of them at the prices they were at.
Yep.
Like actually expanding on their dollar amount that they're priced out at. And plus just seeing how crippling a contract can be when you acquire a bad one. I think Riley Tellez, God, what a piece of garbage that guy is. But no, just if you're stuck with one bad contract, it's enough to just rewire your brain of like, okay, we're not doing this again.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, is Tinstap dead then at that point? Because
I mean, I'll tell you what. I drafted 6 of them this year in the first year player draft because I was like, I need to. I got to figure out a way to get cheap pitchers. Yeah, like I have to.
Never been a 10-step guy. I've been obsessed with pitchers like since I was a kid. Like I love scouting pitchers. Like my favorite thing to do. And like I think it's perfect for this league because you absolutely need pitching. They got to come from somewhere. I don't 100%. Care how many Tommy Johns they have. I don't care if they're Channel Espino. Shout out that guy.
Yeah.
But you gotta get pitchers at cheap prices because otherwise you're just gonna be doing this every year and it's not sustainable.
Correct. Could not agree more. And I wish I would have had the foresight like 2 years ago to see that. Because I
have.
Well, yeah, but it's just it would have helped me, right? Because I would have positioned myself differently to the point where, because in the past I have made way more trades that have helped me in the current year versus future years, and I've never sold out my my farm system or anything like that. I've always had decent prospects, but especially on the pitching side, I've almost always been willing to sell them just because people usually wanted them for whatever reason, valued them higher, whatever. Whereas now it's like, man, when I was going through and having to cut like some of my guys to get down to 20, I'm like, I'm not cutting any pitchers. I'm not doing it. I'm cutting the bats that I can cut, and that's it. I don't care how many I have to cut. So
yes,
very interesting.
When I said like I did not mean like I've just been on pitchers. No, I mean like I've done anything with my team. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had foresight the entire time I've been. Yeah. That's I did not want to come off like dude, you should have been doing what I've been the whole damn time.
No, not at all. Not
the
to
formula.
Me. I was more so saying
prototype.
I was more so saying I wish I could just in general could have seen it that way.
It's hard to because then you do it, you live that pitcher life, and it's like heartbreak, man. Every time. So yeah, it's a hard one. Now we have relievers though. This was kind of odd, I feel like, because you have some sparks thrown in, and then the top end relievers going for significantly higher than the rest of the class.
Yeah.
And the saves are not guaranteed. I mean, they're both New Yorkers. Williams in a new situation. You assume he'll be better, probably.
Yeah.
I feel like the Brewers were kind of maximizing what he had. I don't know if pitchers really go to New York and get better anyways.
Yeah. Hard. I mean,
it seems like kind of a trap at times.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I go ahead because I was just going to diss on New York more.
Well, I mean, I'll diss on the other New York and the Mets in that, not that Diaz is bad in any means, but I thought it was very interesting that Gary took both Williams and Diaz at 18 apiece. I thought that was a very interesting strategy. I don't know that outside of Josh and ACL, who took like 4 of the top end guys for 11 plus. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, which I thought was a very interesting strategy too. Which I don't think they're necessarily overpriced, but also paying $36 out of $260 for 2 relievers seemed like a big risk to me.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I thought about post ACL because it was such an extreme strategy for Josh to take. And then, of course, Gary kind of replicates it a little bit here. I don't know what his other relievers look like to see if he's got like a whole squad of them or not.
I can all pull out.
But you would imagine getting like an $18 pitcher, like a starting pitcher, there seems like with what we're looking at, a lot more risk involved because I think we had like Brady Singer on there.
Yeah.
I feel like you might have, I could be wrong, a better potential ceiling with a elite locked-in reliever that you think can go get 40 saves. Or 35 at the minimum, versus a starter who's kind of hanging on to like that $18 slot.
Yeah,
it seems even riskier though because it's a reliever.
Yeah,
that's where I kind of undercut it.
Yeah, which and depending on how you value the position, right, is going to determine your valuation. I looked at his roster. The only other reliever he had was JoJo.
Okay,
so
definitely needed somebody.
So certainly needed guys to get saves, which makes sense. It's just I needed guys to get saves too, but wasn't willing to go out and spend $36 certainly on 2 guys, which
ton of dough.
Yeah, which is just very, very interesting. Now, I will also say Gary has a pretty decent team already, in my opinion, especially from a pitching staff perspective. But still a little interesting. But that's about all I got for that. So anything else you wanted to add on auction stuff?
No, I think we got her done.
Awesome. So that is it for auction essentially. Now let's go to, well, actually, why don't we do this? Since we're here, do we want to just do FAAB? Since we're in the
Yeah,
shit already?
we're already looking at the FAAB here.
Yeah, we'll just
Absolutely.
go over to the FAAB, and then we'll talk about first year player draft at the end.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, go
Let's
ahead and go.
bid them out here.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we're already ready here.
Alrighty, so kind of the top guys in terms of how I put in quotes, decent names with starting jobs. That I thought went obviously Conine one should play all year. Carrasco, Birdie, Spires, even though it'll be short lived for him. More than likely, Kinley too. That was someone I was in on. A guy who should potentially start the season as a closer for Colorado. So thought that was those were kind of the higher end names. And then it's still it's crazy every year, right? FAAB-A-Palooza is crazy, just like the auction is crazy. But there was still so much freaking money. It felt like there was more money spent this year than last year. We should have honestly kept track of it, but it really, especially at the high end. I don't remember a lot of guys going for double digits. I feel like last year, but maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I don't think so either, because I thought we even had mentioned that FAAB-A-Palooza was kind of underwhelming last year.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if the IL thing had anything to do with it, because we did change the dates.
True.
On FAAB-A-Palooza.
Yeah,
so the fact that it's pushed back, we have a little better idea as of what these guys' role is going to be on the roster versus kind of being speculative. But yeah, I mean, of the guys that are being bid on, they seem at the very top end seem to be at least serviceable role players. You get what, 3 starters and an everyday-ish player. Like I don't know if I don't think Conine's platooning even. I think it's that bad over there in my head.
Yeah, I don't. I'm pretty sure he's starting from what I've seen.
Which honestly, it's if you don't care about FAAB, and some teams don't. Probably a good buy, especially if you need the players. So yeah. I can't really knock on that too much at all.
Yeah, interesting too. I know you put over on the side in terms of how much money was kind of spent by team. 3 teams, not including yourself, obviously not picking up. And I know you're self-proclaimed. You didn't put the claims
sucks, dude. I was like, it felt so bad because the draft was. I think FAAB was running at 8, and the draft was no. FAAB was running at 8 when the draft was supposed to start, I believe.
Gotcha.
And I'm like at 7:30. I think I have time, and I'm going through. I'm deleting out all my. I'm like, I don't like any of this. I was looking at the board and my pending transactions. I'm like, just delete them off. I'll redo them. Then some like crisis happened during the draft that we had to attend to pre-draft.
Yeah.
And completely, the clock already hit, and I'm like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. So I had like 5 or 6 claims that just completely went by the wayside.
Yeah.
I think I would have won like 2 of them, so it's not a huge deal. But it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It just feels bad, man.
is what it is, right? Got to make it up during the season now. In terms of top spenders, I know we know Seth spent 38, not surprisingly. But then,
I mean, that's
which is just insane. After that, Colorado, Alan spent 28. Kevin and myself spent 23 apiece, and then it looks like Joe at 20. Again, not super surprising given where he was. And then that's everyone in the 20s. So interesting. A lot of teams spending a good amount. Speaking as someone who did spend a lot of money, it was something where like Spires, Newcomb were both guys who were supposed to at least start the year in rotations, so that was good enough for me, to be able to at least start the year with. I should hopefully be able to get 7 starts a week, until they leave. And then Bouchard too is actually supposedly potentially starting for the Rockies, which I was like, that seems like a good pick.
One of the ones I had.
Yeah. So I was pretty happy. Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely a good buy for sure.
I was happy
that.
That
Was definitely one of the ones I had my eye on because he should get playing time in Colorado. He's kind of been a fringy guy to begin with, anyways. But yeah, and even look at some of the teams here. It's like they're kind of collective buys. Like the Rockies spent a lot, but I think they got a decent amount for it.
Yeah.
Being able to get a starter, we already discussed the Carrasco situation, but he's still a starter. No one cares. And then getting Tyrone Taylor, who is a kind of a legend in this league for multiple reasons. Shout out Tony. And Dre Jameson, who kind of like a up-and-coming prospect at the time for the D-backs. Maybe he finally hits his stride. Maybe there's some potential there as well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money to spend, $28, but could honestly see a lot of profit coming off of it.
Totally. Completely agree. Awesome. All right. Move over to first year player draft. How about that?
Yes.
All right. So I have it pulled up here just so we can kind of go through kind of how we were planning on doing it. Just kind of talk about thoughts overall and then talk about, maybe a couple of picks in the first round that you liked in terms of where guys either took them or just prospects you liked in general. And then we'll talk about a steal maybe that we like in each round as well. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, share what you think kind of the overall thought from the first year player draft was.
It was pretty chalky. I mean, there was no real surprise pick. I think every year we have like a top 10 pick that's like, did not have that on my
Crazy.
board.
Yeah.
Like we had Horvath last year. I want to say Spencer Jones year before that, which I think was just really high for where. There's nothing wrong with the pick at the time. It was just where he was at.
Yep.
As far as rankings are concerned, so we didn't have much of a wild swing like that. But there was some good value. I like the Caldwell pick from Brendan over in Kansas City.
Okay.
I'll also give you a shout out with the Burkholder pick. That was kind of what I was keyed up on later on. I didn't think I was going to get him. I did not think I was going to get him. I was pretty much planning on a Honeycutt. I figured he'd be there where I was at.
Sure.
And I was kind of like, oh God, Burkholder was supposed to go like in the middle tier. I thought like around 15 range.
I was surprised.
So to see him go to 24 was kind of a nice get. What kind of surprised me was this might be the latest we've gotten our first DSL guy. It's just
sure.
Because at pick 18, Gonzalez going the first off the board.
Yep.
Which it's not that high profile of a class. I don't think that hasn't been like a humongous
it wasn't at all
hype around them.
Yeah, it wasn't at all.
Yeah. So I guess maybe it's not surprising based on the talent, but for ABL's kind of preceding years, I think it's a bit of a surprise to see them go that far down.
Yeah, for sure. For me, kind of my two, or I guess I kind of had three picks that I liked. Condon early on, I think I know he just has a non-displaced fracture. I just saw as well. Hadn't seen that, so that's unfortunate for him. But I just kind of like him in general. He's a 6'6", 211-pound guy. That frame for me is awesome. So big fan there. And then two other ones, and these are actually guys that I picked up in ACL. Are Sloan, the pitcher for Seattle. Love him, 6'4", 220, great dude. I think he could be a big deal. And then Batista. This is a guy that I didn't know actually a ton about going into the ACL draft. Did a little more research on him because 6'1", 175 is kind of, I don't want to say small for me. Like 175 is a little more on the lighter side. I like going with a little bit taller if I can, especially early on. But man, some of the stuff I've seen on him, he just looks like a guy who could really, really mash coming forward. Yeah. So I liked
and
those two.
I'm sure he'll beef up anyways. Most of those dudes do once they go stateside. So yeah, absolutely.
Think. All right, let's go second round. For me, my steal. And again, steal is all relative, more so just value, right? Guys we like. And as I have, Steve had me on last year or 2 years ago on his pod, kind of talking about just like prospects. I don't want to say strategy, but what do we like in prospects, that kind of stuff. And I was on a very similar page as him in that I almost exclusively look at frame with young guys, especially. If a guy's got a good frame, he moves up my board, kind of regardless of position, etc. But one guy that fits that is JD Dix, who, shout out Brendan again, picked second round, 6'2", 170. He's only 19, should be a guy, continues to grow, has some pretty good film out there on him. So that was my second round steal.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Brent's a big Dix guy. So.
Yeah, true. True.
But one of the steals, this was like literally a steal.
That was fantastic, Cal.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
A little alley-oop. It's March Madness, baby. So one of the literal steals of the draft was freaking Jeff taking Cale Fountain.
Yeah.
I think frame guy of the year, honestly. 6'5", 225.
Yep.
Young lad.
Yep.
Going right before the Athletics who wanted him and myself who wanted him. He traded up to get the pick.
Yep.
I mean, it was a master class, except I kind of a little butthurt that Jeff traded him immediately to Dylan. Which is like, come on, Dylan, we had a pact, man. We're supposed to be in this together. What are you doing to me here? So that was a bit of a bummer. But no, I thought that was definitely I was keyed on it. I'm like, dude, he's following me. Let's go. Which I thought was gonna be, I thought he was gonna be going early second. But yeah, that was definitely a steal for sure.
Yeah, when speaking of you mentioned Horvath, I just saw in the chat Dylan was questioning Horvath in the top 10.
Yeah,
And it was, I think, wasn't it Matt?
it was Matt
Right?
Twins.
Who
Yes.
of the Mets who
Yes.
took him, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so he I can't remember, I'm trying to remember what his rationale was, but yeah, I know he loved Horvath at the time. So
I think I backed him up because there was like this weird like game score metric that had him ranked in like the top 5 of hitters that I found. So I'm like, you know what? Good enough. We'll go with that.
why not, right?
So yeah.
Why not? Okay, great. Let's move on to third round. Who is your steal there?
Steal here was this. I don't know if it was. I thought it was really a pick. It was Ryan Johnson.
Okay.
Now there is high reliever risk with Ryan Johnson, but you can't really knock the K to walk of 115 Ks to 14 walks near the Dallas Baptist.
Crazy.
College arm that was definitely on my list. Watching him throw, it's like watching a baby elephant trying to birth the first time. Trying to like,
Dude,
what the hell is this guy
6'6".
doing? Just sliding around, just his goofy
Crazy.
little thing, trying to like just find his way through the world. It's like it's crazy watching him pitch. And honestly, he might be a reliever, but if he is, it'd be a damn good one. But there's definitely some. I think he has the durability of a starter. I think the Angels probably will try him as that.
Yeah.
The scary part is that he's an Angel.
Yeah.
That's by far the scariest part about him.
Yeah.
In his profile. But he's got some wicked stuff, and if you're a hitter, a terrifying arm angle that you just don't want to see. So that might pay off in the long run there for Allen.
Yeah, 6'6", 205.
Yeah,
as a 22-year-old too.
Dude, watch him pitch.
That's
anyone
crazy.
pull up film. He's a weird little guy.
That's
Or
interesting.
Humongous guy, right?
I'll have to look at it. I haven't seen. I know of him, but have not seen any video on him.
Yeah.
So interesting. Great. For me, and I know that this guy was already talked about a little bit in the ACL today. Andrew Salas, and I mentioned to Steve earlier because I know as we all know, Steve loves his prospects young. Emphasizing prospects young there, just to clarify. And Salas is a guy who I drafted in ACL and then actually decided to drop in favor of probably a couple prospects who people would have ranked much lower than him, but who had closer ETAs. 17 was a little too young for me. I usually like to be at least in the 19 range. But yeah, I think 6'2", 185 at 17 years old, and sitting at shortstop too. I mean, the dude's ceiling, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
And high ceiling for sure. So love that pick there. Certainly would have loved for him to have gotten back to me a little later on, but that was my third round. Fourth round for me was Bryce Cunningham. I'm trying to remember where he was picked. Was he towards the beginning? Yeah, there he is. So Cunningham, starting pitcher for the Yankees. These last two are strictly frame picks. I knew nothing about either of them really until I was doing some research on the draft. Cunningham 6'5", 230 as a 22-year-old. Just again, pitch for the Yankees. I guess could be good, could be bad, depending on how you look at them. But boy, that is the exact type of pitcher that I like in late rounds to take a chance on, just simply because if you build into that in any way, shape, or form, the dude's gonna be an inning eater, right? Which obviously helps in fantasy. So like the Cunningham pick for sure.
We get that guy in a buffet. We'll turn him to Lance Lynn. We'll see what we can do.
100%.
One of my picks was Dylan's pick to the Athletics with Brandon Clark. Clark was on kind of my big board. He was a JUCO pitcher with actually I'm seeing now a 13 K per 9.
Crazy.
Again, it's JUCO, so you have factored in. But I mean, fastball tops out 99, works within 95, 97 range. Seems to have a high spin rate on the curveball. Overall, he's in the Red Sox system, which obviously just means he's the best prospect ever.
That does it. According to Dylan. Yeah, according to Dylan, he's God's gift to baseball.
Exactly, 100%. Which I want to say that Clark got traded as well. When Dylan drafted him, so that might not even be like a current thing. I think I remember seeing that name, maybe to Mark, and that's just me throwing it out there. But
he traded him to Rourke.
Rourke. Okay.
Yeah,
Jeez, that's horrible. It's even worse.
Yeah, couple. Not, I mean, again,
A
not,
couple of socks, boys.
Yeah, not shocking. Yeah, a couple of specs and a 5th round pick. So
Okay. Then yeah. So shout out Rourke. I feel like you got a decent return there on that. So yeah, for sure. I thought Clark was a good pick.
awesome. Let's move on to 5th. Who you got?
I got Brian Holiday. This was another steal that my dad stole from me. This was a bit of a betrayal because I called him out to him at ACL. I'm like, dude, we gotta get Brian Holiday. He's just kind of a throwaway guy. I think he's a good college pitcher. He has 128 strikeouts, 19 walks at OK State, which is Big 12's not it's not Dallas Baptist like I had referenced previously. It's not JUCO either. So 21 years old. It seems like he's not like a super senior or anything. Cardinal system, which Cardinals, for all their they they seem to at least be able to hype up certain prospects.
Yeah.
Whether they come to fruition, they at least move through the ranks. So I thought he was a good steal, and my dad takes him 2 picks in front of me, and absolutely knew what he did when he did it. And so 100% a steal, absolutely stolen right from my heart. But it's okay. I needed to go a year without a Cardinals pitcher, anyways. I definitely stood to not get one.
I trust me. I drafted Royce Lewis in ACL, and immediately regretted it because all I see, I'm just blinded by when they're not injured. They are so good. So good.
It's like if you took Buxton and put him into Royce Lewis, and they can play maybe 100 games.
I just can't even.
The best 100 games ever.
I get. I'm actually going to be able to watch Twins games this year. Thankfully, because they're not going to be completely blacked out where I can see them. And I almost am afraid because I'm gonna be so sad when I see the starting lineup, and half the time it's gonna not have Royce, half the time it's not gonna have Byron, half the time it's gonna be some random AAA starting pitcher. So I don't know, we'll see, but I feel that.
Have you considered like scrapping like Harrison Bader for parts? Someone who's just like.
If that was possible, I would do it in a heartbeat. Okay. We just lost Cal. I don't know what happened. I'll try to get him back here. Hold on. We just lost you. Now you're back.
I'm back.
There we go.
Yeah, I was back. I like as soon as I said the Bader thing, it like cut to my big old face on the screen here. I was like, it just got rid of you entirely, and then it cut back to you again. So I don't know what just happened there. I didn't touch out of my hands.
Yeah, me. Same.
What the heck? Anyways,
no, you're good.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to my kind of last 5th round pick that I liked, Alfonso Rosario. Someone I picked, and again I've had some decent luck. I picked Batanti, I think 2 years ago in the 5th round, and obviously he's panned out pretty well so far. So I strictly find the biggest guy I can find. And draft him. And so Rosario is a 6'6", 210-pound outfielder who, from doing a little research on him, he actually got moved to the Guardians organization, which I thought was actually a pretty decent move for him. But he was a 16 home run, 20 stolen bases guy at Single A. He did strike out at a 32% clip, but he's kind of looked at as a guy who, if he can put it together, kind of get some more discipline at the plate, could be a guy that really starts to shine. So that's steal for me.
Absolutely love you putting yourself as a steal. I mean, that is perfect.
It was easy find for the 5th round. Easy
absolutely,
find.
100%.
All right, awesome. Well, that is essentially all we got. Anything else you wanted to add, Cal, before we head out?
No, I'm ready to get into this season and see what we all got. Been a lot of trash talk going around, and ready to put some pedal to the metal here and see what we got.
Us degenerates just need a taste, right? We need the real thing now.
Yeah.
And speaking of the season as well, just so everyone knows, I think our plan as of right now is to do. Did we say Mondays or Tuesdays? I can't remember what we said.
In the past, it's been Tuesdays.
Tuesdays is that if we're keeping that? I don't know. We'll talk and figure it out. It's probably going to be Mondays or Tuesdays or something like that.
Mondays makes sense. I mean, it's right after the week's over. So whatever works, I guess.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll let everyone know. We won't have one next week. just because we won't have any stats yet. The season will have just started.
Yeah.
And so we'll do it post week 1, beginning of week 2. The last thing I did want to mention, because I forgot about this, was Dylan's website. So the plan for us, and I think we're going to have Dylan on too. I know he talked to me a little bit about wanting to come on and maybe just talk about the website and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're going to have him on to kind of come on and talk about it. But the concept, just so everyone knows, is he has figured out a way to essentially take what I had in my Google Sheet and just automatically put it onto this website.
Jeez,
which is
awesome.
Literally like alien technology, as far as I'm concerned, because he fucking coded it and did all this stuff. So
Jeez.
it's gonna be awesome, assuming we can get it to work. So I know we're gonna try to test it out in week 1 to kind of see how it's working, in hopes that it'll just kind of automatically update. I won't have to do Google Sheet stuff anymore. It'll still have the hot cold modifiers, all that kind of stuff, and then it'll just populate there and everything will be there. So. That's the hope, awesome. Just so everyone knows. Again, shout out to both Dylan and Steve for everything they've done. But yeah, that's all we got, I guess, for this week. So, Cal, unless you got anything else, that's all we got.
Nope. Everyone, best of luck to you. Let the new season commence.
Yeah, I hope none of you win, but have a great start to the season, and we'll talk to you all in Discord. See you guys later.
See ya.
You cannot stop me, I'ma make it to the top spicy. Call a covenant, not cocky. You cannot break me, this world's mine for the taking. Got an inch, man, I'm making. I'll keep my head down and grind and be patient. I'll take a stab at the top and the sailing. They can all try, but you cannot contain it. Cause I see the things that I want and I take on my goals.